Hey guys, this video is to show some of the different ballistics that are used in firearms, handguns, rifles, shotguns. For someone who's new, not going to get into uh, very uh, I'm not going to get very much in depth. I just want to show you different caliber bullets, caliber rounds, different ammunition for different handguns. And we're gonna center this a little bit as we get started. First, as we look at this, every group here is a different set. Some are the same caliber, just from a different manufacturer. On the bottom of every bullet, it shows you exactly what it is. This is a 45 ACP. We'll move this over to in order to center the camera. Stand two up, put two next to it. There we go. So you can get an idea for the size of some of these bullets. I just want to stand them up, but that's a 45 right there. It's a big old fat bullet. This is the bullet with the most, the widest diameter. Big, fat bullet. If you threw this at somebody, it would probably hurt them. So, like I said, not looking at ballistics and how fast they fly and how far, but just fire from a handgun. A big, fat, fast projectile. It's going to have, any of these would make a person stop, no matter what anyone says, but that would certainly make them think twice about continuing. So right next to the 45, we have 10 millimeter. Reputation for being a very powerful round, known for being able to take down bears, being able, not just black bears, but grizzly bears. I'm not sure if Kodiak bears are included, polar bears. I think all of the above. But that's a 10 millimeter, and you can see the difference in size between that 45 millimeter and that 10 millimeter there. That 45's big and fat, but that 10 millimeter is mighty powerful. It's flying at a much faster speed because the bullet's shaped differently and the weight is different, the aerodynamics is different. There's a lot of factors, but that's that. Only be appropriate to put 9 millimeter right next to that. So we have 45, we have 10 millimeter. 9 millimeter is going to be just a little bit smaller. So this 9 millimeter round with the gold top, it's just from a different manufacturer than the one with the copper top. So I wanted to show that manufacturers can make their ballistics look very different. Same caliber, could have different amount of grains inside of it. It could look the same, and one could have 124 grains gunpowder, one could have 115, and you really don't know unless you read the box. You look at the bottom of the ammo, and gives you enough information to determine. But there's a 9 millimeter, and you could see the staircase there as it's stepping down. 45, big and fat. 10, big, not as big as a 45, and the 9 millimeter smaller than that. But that 10 millimeter does, from what I understand, as someone new to firearms, that 10 millimeter round right there can do a lot more damage than that 45. All right. So to stick with handguns, next we'll look at the 22, and look at how tiny this little 22 is compared to everything else. It's like smaller than number 2 pencil. Still, it's a bullet flying with speed, an appropriate shot. Even if it's not appropriate, someone shoots you with the 22 in the stomach or the leg, it's going to penetrate and it's going to hurt. People like to joke and say if you have jeans on, it won't go through. A 22 will absolutely go through jeans. You could have several layers of jeans. It's my understanding that it will go through. Unless someone's debunked that. That's a 22. Very easy to shoot. As I look at these, the bullet with the most recoil, I know from experience shooting, is this 10 millimeter. It kicks. Depends what firearm you're shooting it out of course. 45's next, the 9 millimeter next, and then the 22 here. So that's that, and then those are for traditional handguns. That's what you'll get. Those are 4 different. There's more. There's a 40 caliber. There's other calibers that could be used for handguns. So like this is a 357 Magnum. A lot of times when you see a revolver, they say that you can shoot a 38 and a 357 Magnum from the same revolver, and you can see why. They're same size, just that the 38 has the tips a little more flat. It's going to fly a lot slower, be less powerful, more enjoyable to shoot because it doesn't kick as hard as this 357. Looking to see if I can feel the weight difference. Tips a little more round, but look at the difference in these two ballistics. There's a difference. You can't. Every bullet for new gun owner, every bullet is not can be fired from. Every firearm requires a specific bullet. It's not like, hey, I buy a box of bullets, I get a firearm, and I'm ready to go. No, you have to have a bullet that's very specific to what you're firing. And I'm going to go ahead and put these right here. Let's see if this works. Maybe we'll put it right behind, because I can always tell this 357. I'll put it on this side. Again, because of the shape of the tip, it's a lot more round than the 38. If there was ever any confusion, then I could just read the bottom of the bullet and I would know exactly what it is, because it says 357 on the bottom. That's those shells. Here's the 38. Same with the 38. I know what it looks like, but if there's ever confusion, I like to have, for a end of the world scenario, or everything hits the fan, I like to have a little bit of every caliber, whether I own a firearm for it or not. Just part of my prep setup. But yeah, this is what it looks like here. Come up above, trying to give you an angle that shows the different sizes. It really highlights the different sizes of these firearms. And yeah, so from that we'll look at, I want to show you some rifle ammo. It's called 7.62. Now just lay it down. It's 3 types. Well, 7.62 from 3 different manufacturers. Just thought that this was neat for someone who's new to firearms. This first one you could see is the tip is copper, but it's not so copperish that you can see it. It's almost the same as the body. So it looks like the entire bullet is brass. But then when you compare this manufacturer, definitely the tip is copper and the body's brass. You could see that clearly. You could see it's 2 different pieces. There's a bullet inside and a casing that's brass. Let's do this. I'll stand these 2 up. Maybe that gives a better view. Woo! Alright, drop those. Alright, stand that up. Stand this up. And then you have this last one, which I don't know what this is made out of. I know it's not steel. I ordered brass only, but for some reason this brass is a very dark green. Very dark green brass. What I find most interesting about looking at these 3 ballistics, even though they're the same, it's like if you look at this first one, it almost looks like it has a resin around the top connecting the bullet to the casing. And then if I look at the copper and brass tip closely, you could see a press line, like it was pressed. Some kind of machine was pressing into the ballistic, and that line and that glue just doesn't exist on this this last one, which is almost like the bullet was just perfectly placed inside. And it just sticking there. But these are all 7.62. Bigger than a traditional 5.56, which is used in an AR. That's something that the military, the police departments would have. And this is what this looks like from above. If you like another view, this is what it looks like horizontally. You can see how tall they are. And so that's 7.62.